Okay, welcome back to our course, the Business Law Obligations and Contracts. This is your coach, Attorney Lyndon Maseren. Today, we are what to expect from this course during the midterm period. Today, we are going to tackle Introduction to Law and Business Law. So we'll discuss the definition of law, its sources, and characteristics. And there will be other like branches of law and the different branches of the government responsible for enacting laws or implementing and interpreting the laws. On the later parts, you will be assigned to read and listen to my pre-recorded videos, which is part one of the obligations. It includes defining obligations, its sources, the essential requisites of obligations, and the nature and effect, which includes damages. So this in number 4, nature and effect, we are going to discuss fortuitous event, like what has happened lately with COVID-19. And part 2 would be the different kinds of obligations. And the last part would be part 3, the modes of extinguishment of obligations. So for today, we're going to discuss Introduction to Law and Business Law. Now, what do you understand about law? So law is a rule of conduct, just and obligatory. It is promulgated by a legitimate authority for the observance, common observance and benefit. This is given by Sanchez Roman. He is a Spanish civilist. So laws are created by a state. So in our case, the Philippines, we are under the jurisdiction of the state of the Philippines, particularly through its lawmaking body. There are different branches of the state or the government. And these are the legislative branch, the judiciary, and the executive branch. So the one who is responsible for enacting laws or making laws is the legislative branch. So the legislative branch of the Philippines is also known as the Philippine Congress. Now, Congress is composed of 2 houses, the lower house and the upper house. The lower house is known as the House of Representatives, while the upper house is the House of the Senate. The House of Representatives is composed of 275 members, and the House of the Senate consists of 24 members. Now, the purpose of promulgating laws is to have a set of governing principles and rules in order to have an orderly, peaceful, and organized society. So if you imagine if we have no laws, what will happen to our country? Our country would be governed by either anarchy or tyranny or tyranny. Anarchy is what happened lately in the United States when a black person was killed under the hands of the cops, and riots then ensue. People were looting, people were killing other people or other cops. So that is anarchy. So the law in that particular place has It's grown out of proportion. The people it's grown out of proportion. So that's anarchy. Tyranny, on the other hand, is the police or the authority abuses its power. So that's tyranny. So law is very important. Now, what are the characteristics of law? Law is characterized by uh, the rule of conduct, the promulgated by legitimate authority, just and obligatory, and for common observance and benefit. If you notice, this is the definition itself. So, rule of conduct. So, because in everything that we do, in every action or every things, it is dictated by reason to be regulated. No? Like, for example, driving a vehicle or motorcycle. That's an action which is regulated by law. A law requires you to have a license before you can operate a vehicle. A law, then traffic laws are required to be followed or strictly followed. Otherwise, uh, you can involve yourself in an accident. So in every action that we do, it is governed by or regulated by laws. So it's a rule of conduct. And purposely, it is to create an orderly, peaceful, harmonious relations among people concerned. The second characteristic of law is that it is promulgated by legitimate authority. I've already discussed this, and it is the legislative branch who enacts the laws or promulgate the laws. Now, there are two other branches in the government, namely the executive and the judiciary. Now, what are their respective rules about the law? So, executive, which is the office of the president and his cabinet members. The cabinet members are the secretaries of the different departments. Say, for example, Department of Health, Department of Interior and Local Government, and so on and so forth. So they are the ones responsible in executing the laws. Now, sometimes the laws are not so complete. So in enacting or in executing the laws, they have difficulty in executing the laws. So the office of the president and its cabinet members would give administrative acts in implementing the law. So it's called implementing rules and regulations. This also forms part of our laws. On the other hand, the judiciary, which is composed of the Supreme Court and all the other lower courts, are mandated to interpret the laws. So only the judiciary can interpret the laws. The Supreme Court has the power to rule a law as unconstitutional and decide that it is null and void. It is only within the powers of the Supreme Court. The third characteristic of law is just and obligatory, meaning that laws should be treated or implemented equally to all individuals, regardless of sex, creed, his religion, age, or status in life, whether he's rich or poor, or whether he's occupying a high position in the government, or whether he's an ordinary person. And if a person does not comply with the law, there should be punishment or penalty so that it can be enforced. A fourth characteristic of law is the common observance and benefit. So if we observe the law, everybody is benefited. So what are the sources of law? This is the sources of law. The first source is the Constitution, which is known as the basic and the most fundamental law of our land. The Constitution also embodies the different policies of the state. Policies about men, women, policies about arts and sciences, policies about our environment. So all laws must conform with the Constitution. The next source are the legislative acts. Legislative acts are known to be Republic Acts nowadays. Before, it used to be Commonwealth Act or Batas Pambansa. Now it is Republic Act. Administrative acts, as I've said a while ago, these are the implementing rules and guidelines which are promulgated by the different agencies of the executive department. Jurisprudence. What are jurisprudence? These are the decisions and rulings of the Supreme Court. In the Constitution, it states, it provides that the rulings and the decisions of the Supreme Court shall form part of the laws of our land. And lastly, customs. Only old and good traditions or customs can be a source of law. But there are branches or different branches of our laws. Political law, criminal law, civil law, mercantile or commercial law, adjective, procedural or remedial law, and other laws. Political laws are, example of political laws are election laws, because these give us our political rights, especially the right of suffrage, the right to vote. Territorial laws are laws that defines our territory from north to south or east to west. International laws of the states, immigration, and citizenship. So if you are wondering what your citizenship is, you have to refer to political law. The second branch is the criminal law. So this is the law that defines the different kinds of crimes, its elements, and provides for its penalties. So if you want to know what are the elements of murder, then you refer to criminal law. So discuss civil law later. A fourth is mercantile or commercial law. Yes, this includes the laws of trade and commerce, the different negotiable instruments, which are the promissory note and the bill of exchange, the industry, and so on and so forth. The fifth branch of our laws is adjective or procedural or remedial law. So this law provides the procedures on enforcing or maintaining your rights or obtaining redress if they are violated or invaded. So if you think your right has been stepped or violated, then you refer to a lawyer, then the lawyer will seek this remedial law. Other types of branches or laws are taxation, labor law, administrative law. So our topic, obligations and contracts, is part of civil law. So the civil law, number 3, is the body of laws which govern the different relations of individuals and their properties or businesses, then defines the different rights and obligations. And in case they are violated, the remedies, or there are disputes, in the remedies. So what is the Civil Code of the Philippines and what are the books of the Civil Code? Congress enacted Republic Act number 386 way back in June 1949, and it took effect 1 year later. And this law was known as the Civil Code of the Philippines. Now, it contains 2,200 articles in 6 books. First book is the Human Relations or the Family Code. So this book contains the different responsibilities of family members and the different types of persons. Then book 2 is succession. Book 3 is property. And our subject is found in book 4, obligations and contracts, from article 1156 to article 1430. Other books are trusts and sales. So obligations and contracts contains at least 274 articles. Since we are online class, I have already summarized all the articles for you to easily understand this subject. And that ends our introduction. At the end of this course or topic, you are required to answer the quiz and make an essay about what law you think should be enacted or is not properly implemented by government. So just click the assignment part and submit them on time. Or if you have any clarifications or questions, you may message me through my messenger account, Attorney Lyndon Mac. Of course, within the office schedule, and that is from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Mondays to Thursdays. Have a good day. Yeah.